While we have seen comments made by judges inside courtrooms go viral, details about their personal lives are often unknown. The Chief Justice of India, CJI Chandrachud, is someone who's been more open about his likes and dislikes outside the courtroom as well. Like, it's known that Justice Chandrachud once moonlighted as a radio jockey in his early 20s for the All India Radio. His old friends call him Danny, a nickname that was given to him by one of his teachers in Mumbai. The recent India Today Conclave was the first time ever that a sitting Chief Justice of India took live questions at a public forum. Speaking at the conclave, Justice Chandrachud shared some details about himself that are not very well known. We'll take you through what the CJI said at the conclave, giving us a better insight into his personal life. Let's start with his taste in music. Here is what the CJI said about the kind of music that he likes.
On Indian classical, I'm a great fan of Kumar Gandharva, Gana Saraswati Kishori Amonkar, but I love Western music as well. I'm a great fan of Bob Dylan. And on a difficult day to court, I also have my own collection of the Abba, which I listen to.
Does the Chief Justice of India, CJI Chandrachud, like to watch cricket? And who would he be like if he was a batsman? Here is what he said.
It's getting increasingly more difficult just because of the pressure on time. Not the pressure on the mind, but the pressure on time. But I do pick up bits and pieces of the replays at the end of the day before I call it a day in the night.
If you were a batsman, who would you be like?
Rahul Dravid.
The CJI was also asked if he follows social media to see what people say about him. Is the Chief Justice of India on Twitter? Let's see.
I don't know if this is a confession, but I don't follow Twitter. Just for the reason that I think, it's important for us not to be affected by the cacophony of extreme views, which you sometimes find on Twitter. Which is, I have a view on Twitter as well. And I think that, social media is a product of the times, not just a product of technology, but a product of our times. 20 or 30 years ago, when you had, 3 or 4 mainstream newspapers reporting from the Supreme Court, you had the beat reporters sitting in the Supreme Court, and they'll pick out an odd case to report. Social media has changed all that. There's live tweeting of every word that is said in the court. Now, that puts an enormous amount of burden on us as well. In our courts, much of the argument which takes place is a dialogue between the bar and the bench. It's not just an address where one lawyer will speak, the judges will keep quiet, the other lawyer will speak, the judges will keep quiet, at the end of it, announce your verdict. That's not the way it is. It's a conversation. It's so typical of our culture. We interrupt each other, we joke, we have serious arguments, there's a little bit of camaraderie even between opponents, so on and so forth. Now, what happens really is this, that what is expressed in a court during the course of a hearing is not the expression of the ultimate view which a judge is going to take.
CJI Chandrachud was also asked whether he follows television debates and if public opinion impacts his thinking. Justice Chandrachud said that he tries to read as broadly as possible.
Yes, bits and pieces, but speaking for myself, I try and read as broadly as possible, because one of the flip sides about being a judge is the sense of isolation which it breeds. Now, the isolation which we have is possibly the reason why we are independent. We don't mix around too much. Our friends are pretty much friends we made years and years ago. But that's also a problem, because your sources of information, your sources of knowledge are therefore confined to what you can absorb. So what I try and do is to read as broadly as possible, as diversely as possible, to try and get a broad cross-section of viewpoints on what is happening in society. Having said that, when a case opens up for hearing, you have to tell yourself that all that you have gathered from outside the 4 corners of the pleadings in the case has to be kept out, and you will decide the case on the basis of the record before you. That's really part of your training as a judge, which you acquire over the years. It's also of confronting your own biases. We're all human beings. So it would be hypocritical again to say that we don't have our own views, our own ideas about various issues of life. But then you have to confront your own self when you are judging and tell yourself that, well, I'm not going to allow my own personal preferences to affect the outcome of this case. My own lifestyle, my own values, what I learned from my professors, what I learned from my family. So you need to be, in that sense, very careful that while you judge others, you're not judgmental of others. And I think that's very important because it's so easy in the office which we occupy.
That's all for now. We'll keep bringing you more details and updates from courts across the country. From New Delhi, this is Srishti Ojha, India Today.